when it comes to the way people discuss these issues, sometimes I don't think they understand just off the bat that this is way more prevalent than you think. Like if you're just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I have heard such things. I was like, this is the way a lot of people that I've worked with my entire life or known my entire life think about these issues. This is like Ethan's thought process here is not like radically different from the average American's understanding of gay culture. Like most people, I think, don't even know what doms or tops or bottoms are. This one's super weird. To purposefully and knowingly recruit a gay and queer fan base? I don't know. I missed the memo on that one. When has Ether ever done that? It's like, hey, all the gays out there, you gay? Good, because you should watch my show. We're looking to recruit. We're starting an army, and you could be a part of it. All right, everybody. It's time for some drama. Time for the dramas. Gotta talk about the dramas, you know. The important stuff. If you're unfamiliar with Ethan Klein and the H3H3 podcast, they are an incredibly popular podcast that has gone through what some call a bit of a growth period. What was once the sketches about vaping, dude bros, that kind of stuff, Vape Nation, brah, everyone had a good laugh, quickly kind of derailed into promoting people like Jordan Peterson and having rather, let's say, more conservative thinking, intellectual dark webbery on his program, and having those people platformed, a mix of them and other people. Bo Burnham's been on his show before, and so is Ninja and other characters. But anyways, I'm sure you all know that there was quite a change when he rejected Jordan Peterson publicly, and Jordan Peterson was astounded, aghast, if you will. Like, oh, you can't give in to those postmodern neo-Marxists. One day they'll turn on you. It's only a matter of time. You have to be perfectly woke all the time, Ethan, and if you don't, they will cannibalize you. They will eat you alive. And that's apparently happened a handful of times, because Ethan has been what some people on the internet like to call cancelled effectively, and then people on the right and the left have to cheer with glee or sit back and be like, oh God, not again. You're not doing some fucked up shit again. Now, admittedly, because I have watched the offending part in question, I haven't seen the apology yet. Admittedly, I'll say this about Ethan and the H3H3 podcast. It is a better thing to have H3H3 aligning themselves with leftist ideas or progressive ideas, I'd say closer to. I mean, at most you could probably say he's like a sock dem that's had a little Hassan sprinkled on top of him just to marinate him a little bit, you know, a little Hassan Piker herbs and spices, you know, and then deeply double basted and then cooked to perfection a little bit. But that doesn't mean that it's completely ready yet. Like anyone else, including myself and every other person, we're on a journey together. We're all learning. People are at different various stages of how much they know about a various amount of topics. Sometimes, and this includes myself, you will say things without even knowing that what you are saying is offensive or a bad thing. Happens quite frequently, especially if it's something that it's not something you normally speak about. I myself have said that I, on a live show, was telling a story and referred to a little person as the M slur because I didn't even know it was a slur at the time. And then immediately everyone was like, oh no, you can't say that word anymore. And then I was like, what, really? Oh, I just genuinely didn't know. It wasn't coming from a place of malice. I didn't know that the times had changed and the vernacular had changed. It's just not a thing I had spoken about. And I was right to be called out, especially called out live. You know, I think, I mean, mine was quite different. I did not go on a rant like Ethan did and then let a guest call in and then kind of dial everything back a bit, but then go right back into, you know, being offensive in the other direction. Well, either way, I'll play a little bit of it to let it speak for itself.
For the LGBTQ community. And
James Charles, upon further research, we've found that more sites say there's no diaper needed after BBL. So it could be that he likes what they call play. And he is into young folks.
Well, we know James Charles has strong feelings about age.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, sister snapped.
Well, I know one thing. He's got to be real embarrassed he accidentally included that.
Brutal.
Okay, Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the tangent there. So what have I got wrong about top-bottom stereotypes there?
Yeah, so like, and this is kind of an ongoing thing. It just kind of, it made me really want to call in today because like with you guys, just like when you guys were all, you poor straight males all you know, a group of 4 straight males having to discuss such a topic. I mean, you know, it's okay. I mean, you're not. It's okay. I just wanted to get involved because, like, I know there's a lot of times it comes up where you bring in, where you often bring up people that you feel inclined. I know often you feel inclined to describe someone where you think they might be a bottom, and I think that that's often a misconception, that like bottoms may be passive or the
Well, I just mean that he likes
passive partner.
I just mean that he likes to take it up the.
Correct. But how can you know that about someone?
Well, that was just a theory about because he wears diapers. It's just a theory.
Oh no, I'm moving on from James Charles. I'm sorry. I don't care about James Charles that much. Well, like, he should be in jail. I mean, beyond that one, yeah. What do I care about James Charles?
Okay, so
I'm talking about sometimes, like, I think I don't keep a running tally. I love you. I'm not keeping track of everything you do wrong. I'm not Keemstar. I don't have a document on my desk.
Appreciate that.
But like there have been times. I think one that comes to mind was maybe Jordan Peterson, that you described as probably being someone that would be a bottom. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. But like I've heard you at times maybe say like, oh, this is someone that might be a bottom. And I think that sometimes.
So like, again, if you're a normie on these topics, or it's not something like, I don't think people understand sometimes how ingrained into society homophobia is, even in today's day and age, even in the time when people are allowed to get married. I would love to know if it's changed in high school from when I was a lad. But basically, there was nothing worse if you were a man on campus, on the school ground, than being gay. You would be called that if you were or you weren't, and it was often used derogatorily, right? It's like, oh yeah, you're gay, you're gross, you take it up the ass, that means you're covered in poo, like shit like that. That was just 100% normal. That's how everyone talked. Like stuff that you would now be like, well, yeah, like I want to explain to you why that's wrong. Now, the next step from that, you could have someone who's progressive at the same time, and even progressive people, especially progressive straight people, they will know things up to a certain limit. That's when you enter kind of like, I would say, the early aughts, where a show like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has that great scene where they go through all the different kinds of like, hey, you're an otter, you're a power bottom, and then they just go through all this, you're a bear, and they explain what all these terms mean, and they all kind of seem to have this very reasonable conversation about it, but it's not done in a derogatory manner. It's more just as if, hey, here's all the things and the different ways in which the gay community represents itself, right? And if you are part of broader gay culture, you may know these things, and if you don't, you don't. That's just kind of the thing, right? And for the crowd of H3H3, for the previously edgy people who are now kind of, I guess, either flirting or trying to explore issues in the progressive arena, in the kind of like, certainly opposed to right-wingers, but definitely dance around these kind of issues, you might not know these kind of things. Like, until it's explained to you, sitting there being like, yeah, well, I just think that Putin's sucking what's his face, Trump's cock on a regular basis, and that's why he's the bottom and he's the top. It's like, okay, so you're kind of stating that it's like a negative thing to pleasure another man, and then you're kind of adding aspects of that as in it's being lesser than for being a dom, and that should never be considered. Like, all these kind of things are not things you probably ever heard out loud. So I understand why, and I think what's interesting about this whole drama, not drama, that's kind of exploded from this is the idea that, like, I don't think people sometimes, especially on the left, recognize or realize, maybe because they've distanced themselves by, discussing or operating online in a very particular bubble or ingesting a certain kind of aspect of the media, how regular people and how things like institutional racism, ingrained racism, institutional homophobia, ingrained homophobia, how this stuff is just kind of like, it's really built into your thought process, and it's like you don't think about it consciously. It's not something that you're actively sitting there and analyzing or actively trying to dissect. It's just like a set of things that you've kind of been raised with. So that would be my 2 cents in relation to like people being like, well, he has said one of the most homophobic things that anyone could possibly say, and he needs to be canceled. This is not the example, I would say, if you're looking at this so far, of someone being homophobic in the same way as someone who wants to legislate against gay people is homophobic, or someone who thinks that they are sinful or not natural, or they can be changed through conversion therapy. That is a different tier. This is basically what I would consider to be an open-minded liberal straight dudes understanding of some topics, right? And that's as far as they go. And so then it's still kind of like, well, bro, it's funny though, right? Because there's poo in your bum, and then when they have sex, there's got to be poo on them too, because there's a lot of poo, and no one really ever talks about that, right? So that's funny, and that's kind of where you find yourself.
Like, that's not oftentimes like a misconception. Like I think if you met, like, I'm gay.
Oh, and by the way, this one's just a little, I guess, sex ed 101 for the straights if they're unaware of this. If you're having sex with a woman, and you're going to be having anal sex with a woman, and she's consenting to that and wants to have anal sex with you, it's most likely that she's going to use a device and wash out her anus ahead of time, so that when you guys have sex, there's not going to be any poo there. That's something people do. It's not as if people, and I'm talking about straight people who have anal sex. It's not as if they're unaware of this. There's just like always poo all the time. This is just a 101 if you're unaware, and that's why I'm sure a lot of gay people, when they hear these kind of jokes, they don't understand. They're kind of like, oh, wait, what? Do they think that we're just covered in shit all the time? Do they not know? Like, what do they think is happening?
Let's just throw that out there. I mean, I'm married.
That's kind of like basic anal sex. Little advice for the straights, because I'm sure a lot of you want to have anal sex,
and that's something that
with your respective girlfriends and partners.
At the bottom, and a power bottom is a good example. I mean, we can get top, but like you can't always tell like who's the top, who's the bottom.
So do you find it offensive if I say, by being like, oh, he's probably a bottom? Is that the problem?
Absolutely,
it's offensive.
Because it is, because it's saying someone's a bottom in particular, I think, is probably a bit troublesome. And
again, this is speaking to a broader issue, but why? Why are you asking yourself why that is offensive? Because what are you associating with being a bottom? Like, when you think, hey, that person's probably the bottom of that relationship, I'm going to assume it's things like, well, weakness, lisp in your voice, you seem subservient, you don't seem like someone who would dominate. So yeah, you just seem weak. And so because of that, it's not I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just this is what I'm going to associate. These are going to be the things that I associate with it. And that's why I would say out loud, yeah, Jordan Peterson he gives off bottom energy, shit like that, right? Because it kind of, it starts to kind of, gay men already, you have to deal with certain assumptions about femininity and masculinity. I'm sure you understand that. I'm not going to throw out the whole.
It is funny though. I don't know. I think the problem is that
I don't get the appeal of Ethan Klein. He comes across as really dumb. If you're gonna have to bring up a term you don't understand, Google it and get an education. So like, here's the thing. I think it is right to call out Ethan Klein, and ideally, someone. And I've always said this. It's good if you call out big creators and then hope that they can take in that information and change, because it's more important to me, on a broader, I would say, political journey, to have someone who has, I don't know how many they did, 2-3 million subs. I don't think this is on the original site. 3 million subs. It's better for a site with 3 million subs that reaches clearly millions and millions of people to not be pushing forward like homophobic rhetoric, or to try and take things in and learn from it. I'm saying that when it comes to the way people discuss these issues, sometimes I don't think they understand just off the bat that this is way more prevalent than you think. Like, if you're just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I have heard such things. I was like, this is the way a lot of people that I've worked with my entire life, or known my entire life, think about these issues. This is like, Ethan's thought process here is not like radically different from the average American's understanding of gay culture. Like, most people, I think, don't even know what doms or tops or bottoms are. So that's the next step, that let's say if they've learned a couple things about the gay community and that stuff in general. But then, much further past what Ethan's understanding of this is why, especially because like this is a marginalized community, and this is also in some ways there's a lot of things wrapped up into this. Why do you associate things that might be feminine, for example, with weakness? What does that have to do? We can talk a little bit about the way the patriarchy is woven into this too, but again, these things are like, it's a couple steps further beyond, I would say, what a normie's understanding is of this issue.
The term power bottom is very funny to me.
Yeah, he's essentially a normie.
It's hilarious.
And sometimes, these alpha,
when it comes to these issues,
power bottom vibes.
They could be.
But it's not a bad thing,
yeah.
right? It's not a bad thing. That's the problem. I think maybe the joke is the dichotomy of like their persona of ultra masculinity, but then like the joke being that they're a power bottom. But
Yeah,
okay, I see your point.
I
It's
didn't
not
find anything
yeah.
wrong.
I see your point.
As a good counterexample, like I didn't find anything wrong with your and Brittany's usage when you guys were kind of throwing those things around. Like when you and Brittany were talking about it the other day, I didn't find anything wrong with anything you said that day. I thought that everything there was okay.
Matt, I will be.
Anyways, it goes on for a while. They end up doing this thing. They got really mad near the end of it, where his co-host was kind of just like, "Oh God, if you don't want to watch us, don't unsubscribe, don't follow, that kind of stuff." And then a lot of people got mad online. And then the right wingers have basically had a time with this one.
Said on the show,
it's making the rounds, the quartering, and all of them. The biggest thing that everyone's bringing up is that Jordan Peterson quote, where it's like, you know, if you have to align yourself with the left, the wokes will never be satiated until they have destroyed every element of blah blah blah, all this other kind of stuff.
I see Ethan Hawke, and then I see me.
In there though.
Yeah, there's too many famous Ethans nowadays. I can't even own my own cancellation.
damn it, Mr. Hawke.
So, by the way, that's a pretty good show. I watched it last night. Pretty good.
Moon Knight?
Chance yet.
Yeah.
You know, like I've said on the show, I've been kind of off the Marvel thing for a while, but I have to admit the trailer for it looked interesting.
It's fun.
I like Oscar Isaac. He's
And Ethan Hawke is awesome too.
Yeah, sure.
Ethan, please stand
We've been
up.
watching Atlanta. That show's amazing.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Yes,
It's really good.
yes. Atlanta is really really
I'm
good.
putting off the inevitable here.
Afro
So here's the
surrealism.
thing, like, I'll be honest, when I talked to the caller, I don't know why, I just couldn't really, I don't know why, I just couldn't really understand, but after the episode ended, I talked to some people that I trust their opinion, who have good inputs about this stuff, and they explained to me kind of what I said was offensive, and, or they explained it to me in a way that I understood, and kind of what I said wasn't appropriate and all this, and
So this is, I'll be honest, good apology. I don't know. I don't really get what is to gain from the crucifixion of Ethan Klein. I don't know, like, to me, and again, I can't speak broadly to the gay community because honestly, being a little bit bi doesn't include you in the same lived experience as people who have grown up 100% gay and had to deal with everything that entails. Like, you know, I was able to avoid all of that my entire life. So I can't speak for gay men in general when it comes to how they should perceive this or tell them what to do about it. But at the same time, in terms of my demands, my demands, you must meet my demands. But in terms of what I'd like to prescribe from other creators, or at least the standard I think we should try and hold ourselves to, is something similar to this. Taking the information, learn why what you were doing or saying was kind of like fucked up, and then learn from that, because it's probably related to something that you don't know about, you know, as was the case with me and saying those words about little people. His wife, who wasn't in this episode of the podcast, was getting threats due to this. Okay.
you know,
That's not good.
they explained to me that I should probably apologize and explained why. And I thought,
Why did they
you know,
always
I
go after
understood. So
women? That is very weird.
this is my heartfelt apology, which I'll read to you now. After consulting with people I trust, who I value their judgment. To my LGBTQ plus fans, I'm very sorry for comments on today's show. The sexualization of gay men and grouping of tops and bottoms is a stereotype that I'll be trying to unlearn. And apologies to the caller, too, who I shouldn't have pressed inappropriately. I hope you guys know I always mean well. So that's my apology. Some people accept it, some people don't. That's fine. Keemstar, of course, has my number. Keemstar, a great ally to the LGBTQ+.
Absolutely.
You know, this man is always been on the right side of things. So Keemstar is addressing his one.
By the way, it's like there's such a dramatic difference between these two takes, right? Like Keemstar actively is always tweeting out the worst kind of yikesy shit. He's always been on the like a couple steps around dancing around where conservatives feel on trans issues or LGBTQ plus issues, and usually spouting some really fucking horrifying things, versus someone who's like, okay, well, I have offended some of you with my kind of like dated understanding of these issues. I'm gonna try and unlearn it or work to be better. That's all you can really ask for, you know.
LGBTQ fan. He says
He's just sorry he got caught. Like, what he's saying is not like something that he would have stopped thinking afterwards. he like if this wasn't addressed or explained to him, he would have gone home and still like been with friends and family and always just thought like, oh, you're acting like a bottom, blah, 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 not think anything about it, right?
To my LGBTQ plus fans, he's
in the scheme, like in the tiers of like homophobia or discrimination against gay people or gay men, it's reinforcing stereotypes. That's like the tier that it gets, right? In terms of like, here's all the bad things that this kind of like either action or speech or whatever it is enacting, broadly speaking, in society.
not sorry, just sorry he got caught. Bro, I'm on a live show. What do you mean I got caught?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I'm on my own live show.
Wasn't he supposed to retire? Yeah, what a surprise. The whole thing was a lie. I'm Gen X, and I still remember being at school and having to stay closeted. Even suspicion of being gay got you beaten up, and people I find like Ethan, whoop, should be forced to read The Naked Civil Servant by Quentin Crisp. I have never read The Naked Civil Servant. I'll add that to my list.
Oh, I got you. It wasn't like a hot mic moment. I'm here.
Right.
I have been caught in 4K.
Keemstar, who... Oh, is this a new one? I haven't seen this. Ethan Klein's lost his mind. Have you guys seen his comments on gay sex? Just watched this T channel for the clips. Oh, he's denying that he watches the show.
Watched the show.
This is 100% concerned trolling of the highest order.
Come on, bro.
We know.
I, Keemstar, you know the bad guy, would never say anything this horrible. I was legitimately offended, and I'm not even gay. For everybody asking for the clips, I don't even know if I should tweet it. It's that bad.
I don't know anything about Keemstar. Keemstar is one of the internet's longest running pieces of shit. He's been able to survive and weather so many storms and not be shut down, but he has built an entire empire out of drama, right? He's been the internet's most prominent drama curator slash manipulator, because he often involves himself in it. And if you watch Ethan Klein's, I think there's 2 or 3 videos on Keemstar, it really, really goes into detail, all the fucking horrendous stuff he's done, including exploiting people who had clear mental illness to the point of one of those individuals committing suicide. And afterwards, after the suicide, trying to act as if he was like a really good friend to that person, and be like, oh, this is like so heavy, this loss on me and all this kind of stuff. Like, just the scummiest scumbag shit. Yeah, Etika.
He was just like questioning this guy if he was a top or bottom, and the guy was saying he was uncomfortable, and Ethan was like pushing it and saying shit. I know why you are. And he was basically making fun of him because he's gay. I swear to God, it's like so bad. Oh, there's a 7-minute compilation. Yeah, so shout outs to our great champion.
I didn't see those either.
Yeah,
I came straight out of his journal.
He's so woke now all of a sudden. I love that for him. I hope he keeps that energy.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Showing a lot of growth. Showing a lot of growth.
Yeah, he has shown a lot of growth. This is good takes by Keemstar. I really like this new woke Keemstar. Hopefully this is a permanent change. But having said all that, you guys, and what I'm about to say now, having said all that, which I genuinely feel, and especially, I was very insensitive to the caller, the whole pushing, the comment specifically where I was like, I could tell what you are based on your voice or whatever. Very, very gross and bad, okay? Like, I totally acknowledge that. And the whole bottom diaper thing, okay, I understand now. Like, what I said was offensive. But there are certain things I just got to be real about. I got to speak my mind on. Because as you guys know, the minute I stop speaking my mind and being genuine is when the show fucking dies, okay? Now, I've been forceful. I've been emphatic that, like, 2 weeks ago, I got semi-canceled for the Will Smith thing. I was emphatic that no matter what, I'm going to always speak my mind. I'm going to be true to myself. And I'm not going to let anybody or anyone kind of change course for what I think is right. And so there are some things about this that really rub me the wrong way. Let's start off, first of all, with what Dan said. Dan told everyone to fuck off and unsubscribe. I understand that made some of you guys angry. But I have to defend, first of all, a lot of people have been calling Dan a horrible homophobe, and that's just fucked. That's just outrageous. Anyone who watches the show knows that Dan's a good man, and I'm not going to fucking stand by and let people malign Dan like that. That's just fucking insane. I got to stand up for my boy here. So much so that poor Dan just made a Twitter. How long ago was it? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
You deleted Twitter, right?
I'm out.
You logged in today.
I mean, I was sort of harangued into making one anyway.
But you were enjoying it. You were tweeting.
I was enjoying it, but yeah. The thing is that I get very argumentative with people, and you know, and I do want to say,
Twitter's not a good app if that's.
I do think that
that's a problem.
I did not articulate my thoughts very well the other day, and I apologize to everybody that, you know, I think a lot of people that I was not referring to thought I was referring to them.
Here's what I want to say, Dan, before you get too deep into that apology.
Okay, sure.
I do want to give you the chance to speak, but I just want to be fair to Dan, because I'm going to say things that I don't think he'll say for himself. Every week, we get fucking canceled and called out for something that we're not good enough for. We're not woke enough. Be better. It's always, be better, do better. I feel like an abused fucking stepson sometimes, you know, trying to navigate this space. It's like, every week, be better. You got to do better. You got to be better. I'm doing my best here, guys. Like, y'all can't, I'm getting like woke whiplash. And it's like, last week, or with the Will Smith thing, or there was people like, well, sometimes the people take it too far, but this time it's right. This time it's serious, or last time it's fucking serious. And it's like, you guys got to fucking like understand how intense it feels on this side when every week people are turning something we said into evidence that we are intolerant pieces of shit. You know, or it's always like, oh, the veil is down. I always knew they were racist, homophobes. Oh, we can't pretend now to be woke and all this.
I think what this is a result of, again, outside of the fact that, like, I think most people don't recognize how normalized that kind of stereotyping and homophobia just is in broader society. Not that it's good. It should definitely be pushed up against it, but I'm just saying, I think sometimes people don't recognize this. I think there was a big overlap that happened by the creation of The Leftovers. Because if you've got Hassan Piker appearing on a weekly or bi-weekly podcast with Ethan specifically, then it's obviously going to create a large overlap between those two massive communities. Both of them are going to get a big bump, and there will be fans of both of them moving over and merging and then watching the other people's show. And that can result, obviously, in an influx of a whole bunch of people who may be very pro-LGBTQ because they watch Hassan's streams. And because of that, there's going to be a lot of people in there that are somewhat aghast at the fact that, you know, Ethan is kind of like moving, I'd say, further left for sure. But in some ways still is like, you can tell this is not like the way he was speaking was not specifically like, hey, this is the way, that's just the way that the right wing or the far right talks about these issues. I was like, no, that's just the way that most people like do broadly, because they don't understand a lot of these issues, right? Did I already cover the libs thing? Yeah, we went hard on libs on TikTok.
Sick of that shit. And understandably, and we all are. So his snap judgment is like, you know, fuck you guys, just shut up.
Normies.
And, you know, people are calling me homophobic. Dan knows I'm not homophobic. Okay, he's standing up for me, which he's being a.
But a big thing to Ethan to realize here is that, like, I believe him too. I don't think you're trying to be homophobic. I don't think people who reinforce sometimes homophobic stereotypes realize they're doing it. And that includes like all of us, right? You may not think sometimes, like even the idea of people when they do like little impersonations, like a lisp, like hello, and like little things like that, right? They don't even think, because we just like people in society do it so frequently. They don't even think in the back of their head, well, is what I'm doing necessarily in this moment? Am I furthering a negative stereotype in some way?
Good friend and a supporter. So, you know, so I totally understand Dan's reaction to say, you know, just shut the fuck up and unsubscribe, which, you know, obviously he was heated at the moment. But
too heated.
Too heated, okay. But understandably, you know, it's not, sometimes it just doesn't feel reasonable with the woke whiplash we get. And I understand, because, like, I'm sorry, but me and Dan both know we're not homophobic, okay? And I just refused that title. I do, outright, for both of us. It's just not the case. Go ahead, Dan, if you want to say anything.
Oh, I mean, yeah, again, I think that a lot of, well, so there's two main things that people were really mad at me for. One was what you're talking about, which, again, I think I overreacted. I don't know. It was just a mood thing. And like you said, it really wasn't even about that particular thing. But I mean, anybody that frequents our subreddit or goes into the comment section of YouTube knows what you're talking about. And you know, it gets exhausting to...
Mixed Dizzy says, what's so frustrating is that we often lack language to talk about the difference between unchallenged homophobic behavior patterns from well-meaning people and hate-based homophobic bigotry. We need to be able to talk about homophobic behavior because we're all a little homophobic from growing up in a homophobic world without it coming off like you are a homophobe and you should be treated with hostility. Very well said. Completely agree with you there. And also, as massive creators, I think you shouldn't be afraid of taking in criticism and then saying that, like, hey, I think if it's worded properly too, if someone is just like, you two are homophobes, then immediately the two of them are going to get defensive, especially if they're massive creators, because massive creators seem to have, you know, impenetrable egos. But like once they hear that, like, you're homophobes, they're probably both going to sit back and be like, well, fuck, like, we hate on people who are homophobic, like Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. So how does that make us homophobic? You just don't know what you're talking about. You just don't know how any of this works. And like, you know, just because we said one thing, like, again, it would probably, I would rather someone was capable of reaching them and being like, well, I'm hoping that Hassan is going to either talk to them or is going to speak to them and be like, hey, by the way, it's like, it's not necessarily that you're homophobes. Like, you're not actively trying to oppress gay people. You just don't realize that you're reinforcing things in broader society that do, and you're reinforcing negative stereotypes that kind of like others them, you know, as and also plays into other things like misogyny, if it crosses over with associating weakness directly with femininity, or associating femininity with bottoms, or bottoms with weakness, or anything like that, right?
To just feel like you're
every week people are saying you're not good enough.
People are
be
gunning
better.
for you. Yeah, so
be better.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm trying.
Yeah, and I was trying to stand up for you a little bit. I am glad that you acknowledge, though, that, you know, especially the thing with the caller and pushing him when he had established a boundary. I didn't like that happened either, and I'm glad that you see that was too far and that you accept that. The other criticism that I have been getting, which is really the reason that I was like, you know what, fuck this whole Twitter thing, is that I, at one point during the show, was mocking the caller's lisp. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
That did not happen.
That did not happen. And if you're saying that happened, you are either dumb or just being disingenuous. I don't know what you're talking about. There was a moment.
People said you were mocking.
Yeah, there was a moment late in the show when we were talking about somebody had left I believe it was after somebody left a super chat telling us that we suck or whatever. And, you know, I think I did a voice that was more so just like a annoying whiner voice, you know, was sort of like I was mocking. And somehow people connected that to me mocking the caller's lisp, which the caller happened like 2 hours prior to that. So it's really a leap to think that I was referencing that. And that was really upsetting to me because I would never fucking do that. And, you know, again, that does not feel like people are being genuine. I don't know how you can watch that and make that conclusion. If it came across that way to people and you genuinely thought that's what I was doing, I
was 2 hours later?
That was not my intent by any means.
Well, part of my problem, Dan, is that people are making a lot of bad faith arguments that are just total bullshit.
Right. Yeah. No, so that has the overreacting and telling people to fuck off, you know, I accept that was over the line. The other stuff, I don't even know.
One thing that I didn't appreciate that a lot of people were saying about me is like, the only reason you felt comfortable asking him if he's a top or bottom is because he's gay. That's fucking bullshit. I ask everybody uncomfortable questions,
and that was
always.
That was the point that I articulated very poorly, I admit, but that this is what you get with Ethan, man. Like he pushes boundaries and he pushes buttons, and it's not targeted.
Yeah, that's one of the top comments on that video too. Ethan is indiscriminate in who he pushes.
Oh, exactly. Okay, that's good.
You know what though? This does actually, it's neat because like this is obviously happening on a much larger scale, but I often talk about this, like what's the best way to communicate a lot of these issues and what's the best way to get through to people, especially people who happen to be closer to being aligned with you politically, right? Like if you have Ethan who's on this journey right now, and I guess Hassan's pushing him a little bit in one direction and explaining things to him, and then ultimately he's like having to, you know, deal with issues that he normally would not be exploring, let's just say. You know, how is exactly someone going to be learning about all these different terms and expressions when he has no idea what any of these mean, or maybe just heard about them for the first time like very recently? Then yeah, the best way of communicating and the one that produces the best results is probably the one we have to look for. So the ones that I guess don't get as much like automatic pushback and shutdown, you know, the ones that aren't just like, how could you say this about me, bro? I'm not a homophobe, bro. I told you, I don't believe that, bro. Versus the ones that are like, well, in good faith, I just want to say that if you didn't know this, you're not, while you yourself might not be a homophobe, this reinforces homophobic stereotypes. That's all, you know. It's not trying to, you know, fucking get too deep. And
you can think that that's rude and over the line, and you might even be right.
But you can't.
Don't think that it was targeted.
You cannot draw the conclusion from one thing that like, oh, well, I'm just targeting this man because he's gay. That's fucking bullshit.
Why always cis white men? Because they're the majority of people in America, broadly speaking, who talk about these kind of issues, I would say, in a negative way. And like I would say converting normies is important, or at least getting them to learn why what they're doing or saying is wrong. Like I would rather less people do it, broadly speaking, than having to be like, well, time to hold another hand, you know, time to explain to someone the 101s of these issues. Yet again, you know, what is up with all these white cis men, you know, and having to re-explain these issues. Like, broadly speaking, I would like more people to learn and more normies to not be homophobic, more normies to not be racist, more normies to not want to oppress trans kids. Like, that would be better. More voters to not agree with them and thinking this is barbaric when they see that kind of stuff on a voting box, right? That, broadly speaking, is way more important than, well, God, I gotta another cis dude gotta hold your hand through this process, you know?
Okay, anyone who watched this show,
once again, they get a little bit more privilege because they have a massive platform, I suppose, and it's more important that they learn and then tell other people, and those people also tell their friends and family, and then more people do the thing.
as that comment well stated, it says that I'm indiscriminate with my inappropriate questions.
Yes.
That's how I fucking talk to people on this show.
Yeah.
I find it interesting to make people squirm a little bit or make uncomfortable, ask the questions that you know you shouldn't, right? In real life, I'm not like that. But on the show, when I'm trying to fucking entertain you, this is an entertainment show, by the way, I like to create these situations. I think they're interesting.
And oftentimes people love you for it. But you know,
yeah,
you're not perfect.
there's
like Goldie
people that
Fawn X said, these kind of conversations coming from straight people in the workplace is a huge problem. Like, so prevalent. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you didn't know this, the way Ethan talks is the way like most people in most jobs that I've had, like across the board, just speak, and they don't think about. It's not even like a precursor. Okay, everyone, content warning. I might get a little spicy here. Okay, hey everybody, I'm about to get a little bit edgy. It's just like blah blah blah. What, were you taking up the ass yesterday? Yeah, you look like it because you're walking weird. You have poo all over your pants. Like, you're just like, that's just fucking what people say. And you're like, holy shit.
Aren't familiar with me.
This is the norm.
And then they make this whole grand fucking thesis about how I'm only comfortable doing that because he's gay. And that I'm sorry, but I reject. I have to. I'm not going to just sit there and let people say that shit uncontested.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to do this, but this was the like colossal bad take of colossal bad takes, in my opinion. Now this is Kat 10 Barge, who I don't have a problem with her, you know. She wrote the article about David Dobrik in the Insider. You know, she seems to be a good reporter in that regard, and I really have no problem with her. And I just don't understand how someone could actually think this. And I saw this echoed by a lot of people. Adam McIntyre, you know, a friend of the show, said, newest H3 podcast has so many homophobic undertones. Okay, that's fine, right? So, okay, you know, that's a fair statement. But then Kat goes, to purposefully and knowingly recruit a queer and gay fan base. So, first of all...
Wait, what? Okay, I was like, I hope he doesn't push back against this, and I hope he takes this in as fair criticism, and he did. But this one's super weird. To purposefully and knowingly recruit a gay and queer fan base? I don't know. I missed the memo on that one. When has Ether ever done that? It's like, hey, all the gays out there, you gay? Good, because you should watch my show. We're looking to recruit. We're starting an army, and you could be a part of it. It's a choice. I don't know when he made this first part, though. I'm sure he's happy if he has queer and gay people who watch him. I mean, who wouldn't be? Unless you hate those kind of people. But I don't think he's ever actively, knowingly tried to do a gay recruitment.
Well, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, what do you mean? I'm purposely and knowingly recruiting a queer. What am I what am I handing out flyers? Am I targeting ads to gay people? What the fuck are you talking about? That is just so insulting to me. Like, what the fuck? When have I ever knowingly recruited queer or gay fans? I just find that statement so foul. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's foul. But then she continues, just to shit all over them and perpetuate horrific stereotypes about gay men is a choice. Now, you may not be, first of all, you may not like a horrific stereotype about gay men, I think, is like that they're P-words or groomers, like shit you hear from real people right now today in Florida saying like, they're saying, oh, you can't talk about gay people in school because they're grooming your children. That's fucking horrific. Let's check our tone a little bit. What the fuck? Did I really perpetuate a horrific stereotype? I don't know. Like, if what I did was horrific, then what is it they're doing? Like, can we have some levels here?
Right.
We need some levels.
Yeah.
Am I, you know, let's say, okay, what I did was horrific, top, bottom stuff, whatever, a joke in poor taste. Genuinely, I would like to hear what Kat describes as like every mainstream conservative describing gay people as groomers. So what is that? We got it. We need some levels here. But okay, that's not even the problem. She says, perpetuate horrific stereotypes about gay men is a choice. So she's saying, I've gone out into the world. I have recruited queer and gay fan base. And then I put them in a room. And now I'm going, you're fucking the worst. So I'm taking them and I'm beating them up. How can you watch the show if you think that about me? And this is what I'm saying. Some people, I think, are too sensitive to watch this show. So I'm never going to be, I'm trying my best. I'm always trying my best. And I hope you guys know that I always mean while I'm trying my best. But if you think that I'm this horrible, this is the worst shit. If this is who you think I am, how the fuck are you watching this show? To purposefully and knowingly recruit a queer and gay fan base just to shit all over them and perpetuate horrific stereotypes about gay men is a choice. So there you have it. I am choosing to, I'm sorry, but this is fucking insane thing to say. I mean, I'm sorry, but no. I just completely refute it. Without reservation, just 100%. And I'm sorry, Kat, to put you on blast, but you know what? I saw this echoed. I read the comments, and I personally just found it a horrific accusation.
Okay, so that's basically the end of the apology. The left is eating themselves. Is this about like how leftists turn on leftists all the time? The meme?
Your wedding.
Exactly. You got some of y'all think you're doing a good thing, genuinely, but I actually think that a lot of what's going on is making things much, much worse. Not all of you, because I understand. That's why I apologize, right? Like, there's a genuine space for an apology. Of course, I think that's absurd, right? But I'm just saying, you guys aren't. Some of you, I'm not saying like all people who were upset or offended, obviously, but some of you guys make shit much, much worse by labeling people homophobic and racist who aren't. I'm not going to accept that title. I agree that I have tendencies and stuff that I'm working on. You know, what kind of fucking relationship are you? A bag of puppies in a river, or some people do, and that's horrific. If y'all want to fucking cancel me again for what I said, be my guest. I got nothing else to say about it.
Canceled. All right, I think I'm pretty much done on this story. We've approached it from all angles. Speaking of all angles, listen to this quote by Alex Jones that I found completely randomly.
I mean, I didn't have some sexual desire for my mother, but when I would look at her, very beautiful blonde, you know, red lipstick, you know, very beautiful woman, I was like, Mommy, that looks really good. I like it.
Gonna play this one more time for the people in the back. If you didn't know, this is Alex Jones on his mother.
I mean, I didn't have some sexual desire for my mother, but when I would look at her, very beautiful blonde, you know, red lipstick, you know, very beautiful woman, I was like, Mommy, that looks really good. I like.
Why don't we take a little trip back in the Wayback Machine here? I'd just like you to focus on her face for this.
I mean, I didn't have some sexual desire for my mother, but when I would look at her, very beautiful blonde, you know, red lipstick, you know, very beautiful woman.
What did I agree to do with you? I thought we were starting a lifestyle YouTube or something. I have no idea who this person is. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. we raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.